कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Let us see with our eyes that which is auspicious and elevating, and hear with our ears that which is ennobling and elevating, and with our senses keen and powerful, let us, by the grace of God, meditate our inner nature and get spiritual enlightenment. Om Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. A knower of Brahman, the Supreme Truth, attains the supreme state of existence. Brahman is the nature of Satyam, truth, Jnanam, knowledge or consciousness, Anantam, infinite. And that Brahman is realizable as the Atman in the depths of our own being, in the recesses of our heart. Om Shanti, 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 Om peace, peace, peace. Our subject today, as you know, is ourselves. Most interestingly, we have so many subjects to study in the school, in the college, and the university: physics and chemistry and biology and computer science and nanotechnology. And the most interesting and the most important, the most beloved subject to all of us is ourselves. Who are we? What are we? And we are the most beloved of ourselves. And the Upanishad says that everything in the universe becomes beloved only because we ourselves are beloved to ourselves. Swami Vivekananda has a wonderful lecture. I spoke about it last time when I came. Reason and Religion. And you also had copies of that. I hope some of you went through these pages. Where Swami Vivekananda raises a very interesting question, which is the following. Should a religion be scrutinized and assessed and evaluated by the same yardstick by which secular sciences are scrutinized and evaluated? He himself raises an objection which the religionists would raise. Oh no, you can't do that, because we religionists deal with something which is transcendental, which is supreme, which is beyond all relativity, and the same yardstick which is applied to secular sciences shall not be applied for the evaluation and the assessment and scrutiny of religion. Vivekananda dismisses this objection and says, yes, the same yardstick which is applied to secular sciences for evaluation and scrutiny shall be applied to religion. And if at the end of this analysis and scrutiny, some part of religion goes, it shall go, because it should have gone long ago. Religion can't claim superiority and shy away from being scrutinized. That was a religious person speaking. And he says, what are the criteria by which secular sciences are usually scrutinized and analyzed? There are two fundamental criteria. One, a particular should be referred to the general, general to the more general, till we reach the most general, which is the universal. I repeat, because some people feel that I speak a little too fast for you to catch up. This is one problem with Indians. And Indian languages we speak very fast. People say, please slow down, please slow down. That's because the thoughts move so fast and the speech can't cope with it. What is the speed of thought? Speed of thought is infinite. But the poor tongue can't move that fast. And even the little fastness with which the tongue moves, the ear can't disintegrate so fast. That is the limitation of the indriyas and the senses. So what I normally do is, rather than slow down, as much as I try, repeat the sentences so that you can catch up. This is a technique which is applied in the Shastras, in the scriptures. It's called punarukti, repeat the same thing again, which is a defect in ordinary speech. You don't say the same thing again and again and again, except when you're a politician. But usually, people of wisdom don't repeat the same thing again. But in this case of religious scriptures, spiritual scriptures, Word of God is repeated several times. You see the Bible, or the Quran, or the Vedas, or the Upanishads. The same idea is repeated several times in so many different words, so that our dull intellects may be able to grasp and to be able to understand them, comprehend them. So the first criterion, as I said, of scrutinizing secular sciences, one, the particular should be referred to the general, general to the more general, and the more general to the most general or the universal. Vivekananda gives a simple example. When an apple fell, Newton didn't think of it as an isolated incident or a phenomenon. He referred it to a general law of all apples falling and a more general law of any objects falling, and finally came up with the universal law of gravitation. All of you know this. The force of gravitation between two objects of masses m1 and m2, school physics, is proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. It is not inverse of square law. You must have forgotten your physics, but still it's very easy to know. Remember this. Later on, the whole concept of gravitation underwent a great change in the hands of Einstein. That's a different story. So Vivekananda says, therefore, a particular incident, rather than being looked at as an isolated phenomenon, could be looked upon as a part of a universal law, of which this incident is only a specific, a particular application. That is science. Science proceeds by discovering laws, by classification, unification, and generalization. These are the three fundamental requirements of science. I repeat again. Classify, universalize, and generalize. All of you know that there is an important concept in chemistry called the periodic table of elements. All of us read this in school physics. Every one of you knows this. When so many elements came to be discovered, people said there can't be too many elements like that. There should be some classification of these elements. And the classification gave rise to what is known as the periodic table of elements due to Mendeleev and Lothar-Meyer. These were the two outstanding chemists or the physicists or the scientists who found that the elements could be classified in a particular way in periods and columns. And the periodic law, which you know, I'm not going to teach you science now, says, look at the philosophy behind this. I discovered it much later when I grew up. Every scientific discovery is based on a particular philosophy of life. And every one of us has a philosophy of his or her own. Even a dog or a cat or a plant has a philosophy. The little dog standing outside, watching what these strange people are discussing here in this hall. And our Swami Yogananda has named it as Sadhu. Our dog here. That should be having its own philosophy which we do not really know. See, every one of us has a philosophy of existence, philosophy of life. This you should remember when you deal with your children. A child has its own philosophy. We try to impose our philosophy on the child. Do this and don't do this. You evolve a philosophy. A sane person, an intellectual person, a rational being like a human being, supposedly, evolves a philosophy to guide his life and existence. And the philosophy keeps on changing, growing as you grow along. So you have a map of your own life. You always believe that the ideas which you gather in life, in school, in college, and university, and later on, these ideas can be mapped onto your own individual maps. And have this map with you, and any new idea which comes in should be mapped onto this and should position in this huge map. And when you grow along, you will develop a capacity by which any new idea will dance its way into that map and sit in the proper position. You can see that happening in the inward map. It's a new idea. I have a map of my own which guides my life. And that is in that map I have to find out my own trajectory, my own path. And I can share this map with you, but you can't follow this map unless you have your own map. You have to find your own paths in this map, and this map goes on growing. This is how life grows. You learn from people, and you add on to this map, find newer and newer paths. So the philosophy behind every scientific discovery is something very profound. The philosophy behind the periodic table, as you know, is that every element in the periodic table reacts with every other element in such a way as to attain the configuration of the inert gas nearest to it in the periodic table. You know this law. The idea being that every element of the universe wants to react with every other element so as to attain a completely stable state. What's an inert gas? Inert gas is something which is absolutely stable. It doesn't interact. It simply stays on its own. Vedanta will call it Atmarama. Helium is a great saint because it doesn't interact with anybody. It's an Atmarama, it simply stays put with itself. So every human being wants to attain a state of stability. The moment you interact and react, you become unstable. So how to live, go through life, and to react in such a way as to attain the state of maximum stability. That is religion, that is philosophy, that is science. So this is a classification of the elements. Human mind always classifies. You group things into certain categories. You don't say these are isolated things, but they can be classified. And our great sages in the olden days, they were extraordinary classifiers, universalizers, and generalizers. They classified even sorrow. Suppose I ask any one of you, is there anybody without any sorrow? No. Everybody has some kind of sorrow. You have stomach ache, you have a toothache, and you have pain in your heart. Suppose I ask you, how many kinds of sorrows are there in this world? Can anybody answer this question? Innumerable, countless. But our great sages said, no, they can be classified. They can be classified into three categories. One kind of sorrow which arises from your own body and mind. toothache and stomachache and backache, and the pain which you feel somebody betrays you, somebody insults you, all of them arise from your body and your mind. This is called Adhyatmika Dukkha. Dukkha means sorrow. Adhyatmika, arising from the body and the mind. The other kind of sorrow arising from beings outside you. Could be dangerous beings in the forest like the bears and the lions and tigers if you live in forests. In cities you have human beings who have human form but they're beasts within. And our mothers will know, in the Indian mothers of course, I don't know about the American mothers. You have cockroaches in the kitchen, you have rats, you have ants, and in India we have plenty of mosquitoes. This great country, please free from mosquitoes. So these are the things which give you torment. It pains you. So these are the things which you get from beings outside. The third kind of sorrow are the natural calamities over which you have little control. Although environmental activists would say that many of them are man-made, the floods and the tsunamis that you have. So these are the three kinds of sorrow. The first arising from the body and the mind called Adhyatmika Dukkha. The second arising from beings called the Adi Bhautika Dukkha. Bhuta means beings. Dukkha is sorrow. And the third arising from natural phenomena called Adi Daivika Dukkha. Daivika means natural. The forces of nature. Dukkha means sorrow. Why I am mentioning this is because our ancient sages could even classify what kinds of sorrow. Can you think of any sorrow beyond this classification? Think of any kind of sorrow. All of you are so blissful and happy, you have no sorrow. You can't think of sorrow. That is the elevated atmosphere of this monastery. You think of any kind of sorrow which is outside these three, you can't. So what a genius of classification which the sages had. So one is classification. The second is generalization. You generalize something. A particular is referred to the general, most general and the universal. Ultimately you reach what is known as the universalization. The present word for it is globalization. Global is actually universal. Now the new word is coming up, as I told you yesterday, which is localization. A global phenomenon customized to a local need is called localization. How new words and concepts emerge. So as I said, one important criterion by which secular sciences is scrutinized, the particular has to be referred to the general, general to the more general, and the more general to the most general of the universal, till you have, which decides and regulates and makes you understand this phenomenon. The second criterion of sciences is that the explanation of a certain phenomenon should come from within the system and not from outside the system. I repeat, the explanation of a certain phenomenon should come from within the system and not from outside the system. Suppose you say there is a thunder and lightning, and the lightning kills several people. Don't say some devil is sitting there and sending lightning on you. Don't say Satan did this mischief for you. But say there should be some natural cause within the system, not from outside the system. A science will never accept the explanation of something from outside. There should be an explanation from within by which this can be answered. Vivekananda says, is there a religion or a system of philosophy which satisfies these two criteria? Namely, one, the particular should be referred to the general, general to the more general, and the more general to the most general of the universe. Two, the explanation of a certain phenomenon should come from within the system and not from outside. He proves that the religion and the philosophy of Vedanta is one such system which satisfies these two criteria, and therefore the most scientific, universally acceptable, no matter what race, what country, what religion, what gender, and what time. It is applicable today, tomorrow, and 1,000 years hence, because it's based on these two principles. So let us go for the generalization. Vivekananda said our sages were great generalizers, and they made very, very bold generalizations. Generalization is related to unification. The human mind can't remain without unifying. Although there are divisive forces in society, in nature, in politics, you feel very unhappy, uneasy with divisive forces. Why do we condemn conflict? Why do we constantly say resolution of conflict? Let us find out how we can come together. Let us find out how we can be happy, peaceful. Because a human mind is naturally averse to conflict and division. Divisiveness is a tendency which you feel uncomfortable with. Unification is something which makes you happy. You come together, you are happy. You get separated, you feel unhappy. So unification is a natural, psychological, and a philosophical necessity, because of which the ideas also have to be universalized. You can't have 1,000 ideas which are in conflict with one another, and as Vivekananda famously said, running riot in your brain undigested all your life. But you want to come together and have a system of thought which comforts you, which gives you peace, whatever it be. It could be anything, materialistic, even communistic. Not believe in God doesn't matter. As long as you're comfortable with no God, it is not necessary that you believe in God. It gives you tight straps on your cheeks and makes you wake up in sorrow. You need to fall back upon something which is permanent, which gives you comfort. Then you need God. Those who are bold enough not to get upset even when sorrows are the heroes who can go beyond God. God will bless them by showing His mercy and showing His own real nature to them. There's a theory in India, you can love God by hating Him. The theory is, you so intensely hate God, you constantly think of Him. The example given is Kamsa. You know, you've heard of Kamsa? Kamsa was a great enemy of Sri Krishna, as you know, and Krishna killed him finally. Interesting stories in India. Incorporeal voice said that Devaki will give birth to certain children. The 8th child will kill you. So be very, very careful. So Kamsa was terribly afraid. So one by one, he was waiting for the 8th child to be born. And we have an interesting character in India called Narada. Indians will know this. Narada is supposed to be a mischief monger, but he is not. He wants the good of society, but he is called Triloka Sanchari. He moves about in all the 3 worlds. He is like the paparazzi. He goes about with his camera and his tanpura, collects information and distributes them to everybody. We call it the 3rd estate now, and the 4th estate. So the Narada comes to Kamsa because he found that Kamsa did not kill all the children. The amount of sin which will necessitate God to descend and kill him will not be complete. His quota of sin should be there so that God can descend and kill him. See, if he killed only the 8th child, the sin amount will be less. So I go and tell him, Kamsa, I killed the 8th child. Yeah, Narada, because the voice said the eighth child is going to kill you, so why should I kill? After all, she is my sister. Why should I kill each one of her children? Then Narada said, oh, is that so? Anyway, I am telling it for your own good. You decide it. How do you do the count? If you count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the 8th. If you count from 8, the first could be the 8th. Relative. If you count from second, the 9th could be the 8th. So you do not exactly know which is the 8th. Perhaps it will be safer to kill every one of the children. Anyway, I have said what I wanted to say, you decide. Comes up, becomes jittery, that's an argument. He began to kill each child. There's a story. Indian Puranas are such wonderful storytellers and such fanciful imaginations. So why I mention this is because by hating God, you can love Him intensely. The story is that there's 3 people who wanted to reach God very fast. It will take a long time to reach God through love. So he said, I will take the path of enmity to God and move fast. In 3 lives I will reach God. That's the story. Why I am saying this is because there could be several paths. The idea is to think of God constantly by whatever means. And any emotion, whether it is hatred or love directed to God, becomes blessed. All of you sing every day the famous hymn composed by Swami Vivekananda called Om Hrim Rutam Tvamachalo Gunajat Gunidya. The Vesper song which Vivekananda composed. There's a beautiful line at the end, Krityam Karo Dikalusham Kuhakantagari Shantam Shivam Suvimalam Tava Namanatha. O Lord, your name ending in Shna, Ramakrishna, can make even that which is apparently wicked, can turn it into virtuous. By the touch of the divine name, anything which appears to be inauspicious can also be turned into auspiciousness. Krityam karoti karusham, karusham krityam karoti. That which is defective, that which is inauspicious, by the touch of your divine name could be converted. Like the proverbial philosopher's stone, which is supposed to convert all base metals into gold. We call it sparshamani. Now, the idea of universalization, the unification. Human mind always wants to unify because it is unhappy with that which is divisive. You want something which is unifying. You are not happy with the many, and you are asking whether the many can be considered as manifestations of the one. It's not only in religion and science. In science, this is the famous quest of a unified approach. Albert Einstein, the greatest man of the millennium, the last millennium, one of the outstanding visionaries and scientists, thought there should be a unified field theory. Toward the end of his life, he was working on this. There are so many forces of nature in science. He said there should be only one force of which these forces should be manifestations. Always approach the one. Unfortunately, he was not successful. He couldn't find out the unified force. And he said, I leave it to the posterity. Even now the search is on. This is called the Holy Grail of physics. You know the Holy Grail story of Albert Tennyson. Sir Galahad, I have the strength of 10 because my heart is pure. We read it in school, I remember some of them. So the human mind always wants to chase the Holy Grail of unification, the one. We know so many branches of knowledge. How many varieties of knowledge are there in the universe? Even in a university or a college, you have hundreds of departments teaching so much of knowledge. Suppose you have a master key to knowledge. What is it that knowing that one by which everything can be known? The present day physics calls it theory of everything, TOE. Those of you who have read the Stephen Hawking's famous book, The History of Time, he speaks about this, a TOE. Can you have a theory which can explain everything in this universe? The master key. Now we have the MasterCard, isn't it? The credit cards. Because that could go to any ATM, that could apply to any bank, anywhere in the world. So you don't have to carry several cards. I saw when I was coming, a person with so many cards. With I think a dozen cards he keep on. So you want to unify these forces and find out these forces to be manifestations of the one. Are there not many? Of course there are. Then how do you accommodate the many? You say the many is only a manifestation of the one in different contexts. That gives you great satisfaction. All of you know the atomic structure. You have the electron going around, you have the proton and the neutron and the nucleus. Somebody said, why should I have so many particles? At least the proton and the neutron are two brothers sitting in the same mother's womb. They are twins. Why not think of them as one particle? But the problem is the proton is positively charged and the neutron is negatively charged. The neutron is neutral, there's no charge. So what about the charges? Think of them as the same particle with one positively charged, the other is negatively charged, but the same particle. So think of a charged space in which they are supposed to be rotating with certain spins, half and minus half. These are some of the concepts which revolve through to unification. But their masses are slightly so, it's called symmetry, SU2 symmetry. Symmetry is a great concept in philosophy, in religion, and in science. Always we go through certain symmetry principles, and we believe the symmetry principles will what make nature beautiful. What is beauty?
Something that pleases you.
Will you agree that beauty is symmetry?
Yes. Yeah.
There's an axis of symmetry in the body, and the two eyes are evenly placed, and the two ears are evenly placed. And if one arm like this, another arm like this, oh, it is not, it is ugly, because it's not ugly, but it's unsymmetric. So symmetry is always related to beauty, and beauty is the fundamental characteristic of nature. We discovered it long ago in India. Satyam, Sundaram, Shivam, Shantam. Nature or God is Satyam, it is truth. Sundaram, it is beauty. Shivam, it is auspiciousness. From which flowed the three great values in the Greek philosophy by Socrates and Plato: truth, beauty, and goodness. They said that all the various branches of knowledge can be classified into three fundamental values: truth, which is pursued by science; beauty, which is pursued by arts and humanities; and goodness, which is pursued by social work and social sciences. This is all that they have in the universe. Only three branches of knowledge: truth, beauty, and goodness. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. So why I am saying this is because you think of two particles to be manifestations of one and the same particle. Why not extend this? Why only two? You have 8 particles. It's called SU3 symmetry, called the Eightfold Way by Gell-Mann, was influenced by Buddhism. And you go on extending SUN symmetry, n number of particles. Then they talk about supersymmetry. These are the things which have been discussed. And the broken symmetry, and how do you accommodate these two particles having slightly different masses? You say, of course they are symmetric, but the symmetry is slightly broken. It's called a broken symmetry. In beauty parlor, I don't know much about the beauty parlors, but you can, from the various news, you can find out. If you want to enhance your beauty, People say, you dress up well and put a small black dot on one cheek. So you have a kind of broken symmetry there. It is not symmetric on the other side. So when symmetry is slightly broken, it enhances the beauty. Nature does it. That's what they say. Sciences say. So the unification idea, can you think of the many as manifestations of the one? Can you think of all the forces of nature as manifestations of a single force? In exactly the same way, can you think of the entire humanity as a manifestation of the one? What is that piece of knowledge? By knowing which all the knowledge in the universe can be known. This was the famous question asked in the Upanishads. The theory of everything, which the modern science is now chasing. And the modern science believes now they have the superstring theory, in which they say a time will come we'll be able to unify everything. They have not been successful, but they are chasing it. The human mind can't rest in peace unless you find unity. The whole effort of science is to find unity. Vivekananda said this. There is a great householder, a grihastha as we call it in Sanskrit, whose name was Shomunaka. He went to an extraordinarily illumined sage called Angiras and asked to put him a simple question. Sir, what is that by knowing which everything can be known? Shaunako havai mahashalo Angirasam vidivadupasannappa pracha Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. What is that by knowing which everything can be known? In the Upanishads it's called Ekatva Vijnana. Vijnana is the science, knowledge. Ekatva Vijnana is the knowledge of oneness. The Chandogya Upanishad also speaks about this. One answer which is given for this is that you find out what makes for difference. You talk about diversity, differences, and you're uncomfortable with diversity or differences. Rather than wiping out the differences and the diversity, you look for that source of oneness on which diversity, as it were, is embedded or planted. You get this idea? Rather than putting out diversity, removing diversity, can you celebrate diversity as coming from that one source which is universal? What makes for diversity? All of us are sitting here. Our faces are different. Our constitution is different. Our minds are different. Ideas are different. Somebody is a man, somebody is a woman. Our nationalities may be different. Our language may be different. Our cultures may be different. Religions may be different. So many differences. What makes the difference? Because our form and name. This was discovered by Vedanta long ago. If the name and the form are bypassed, there is oneness. Can you appreciate this? Out of the same substance, so many different kinds of things are made. Those who are good in cooking will know the same ingredients are used for cakes, for example. You have different kinds of cakes you make for different occasions. But the fundamental ingredient is the same. So what makes the difference is only the name and the form. I have a name, you have a different name. I have a form and you have a different form. You have a male body, somebody has a female body. Somebody is a French person, somebody is American, somebody is Canadian, somebody is Indian. Somebody speaks French and Spanish and English, somebody speaks Bengali and Tamil and Telugu and the various languages. So the name and the form, if they are bypassed, suppressed, then what remains is the one. Would you agree to this?
Yes.
Which means, rather than suppressing and eliminating the name and form, can you see through the name and form into that one which appears assuming various forms and names? A simple example which is given is the example of clay images. In India we make clay images. As you know, in Durga Puja in Bengal, you make an image of Durga in clay and you have a lump of clay. The person, the artisan comes there. With one lump of clay he makes the Durga, and another lump he makes Lakshmi, Saraswati, and various gods and goddesses. And at the end of the puja on the 10th day in Dashami, they put it in the Ganges, in the river, and the whole thing melts away. The idea being that God who is within you, eternal and omnipresent, because my stupidity, my limitation, I want to worship Him as being outside. I project that God is within as outside and enjoy doing this puja and then withdraw the God back again into myself and then throw this image as lifeless. That is the idea. See, this is a story, interesting story of a drunkard who came and addressed Mother Durga, the Durga Puja day. Oh Mother, be extremely careful with these human beings. For 3 or 4 days they will rejoice, they will worship you with all this, and on the 4th day they will try and drown you in the river. Now, tell me, suppose the Durga image is being drowned in the river. We call it Visarjana, you simply throw it in the river as lifeless. And suddenly you remember, oh, is the image drowned there? Please bring me some mud from the Durga image or the Lakshmi image. Can you bring it? Because the whole thing is melted into one clay. When the moment you throw it in the river, there is no Durga image clay and there is no Kali image clay, there is no Lakshmi image clay. Clay is clay. So the same clay became Durga and Kali and etc. Or if you want the Christian imagery, you have the same marble out of which the Christ's image was made, a portion of that marble by which the angels are made, the same marble so many other saints are made. So the marble Christ, the marble by which Christ was made was not holier than the marble out of which saints are made. Suppose saint says, no, I'm very uncomfortable. My Lord, the great Lord was made of this marble. I should not be made of the same marble. Marble is marble. There's an interesting story in India of a person who was a great devotee of Rama. You know, Ramachandra is a great deity, incarnation. His consort is called Sita Devi, and his devoted follower is Hanuman Mahavir, and he has brothers, Lakshmana, Bharata Shatrughna. This is the story. A person was worshipping Rama and Sita with small golden images. Somebody gave it to him. Inherited with the family property. Here Rama, Sita, Hanuman and Lakshmana. But he felt very bad days, dire distress. He couldn't make the ends meet. He was almost starving. His wife told him, you see, our children are starving. Why do you keep these images and worship them? At least one of them you sell away. Rama is too sacred to be sold. So he took Lakshmana, poor Lakshmana, and then said all the Lakshmana. Then the goldsmiths weighed the image and said, this is so many kilos, I'll give you so much money. So one by one, he was forced to sell. And when he sold away Rama, he got less money than Lakshmana. He got terribly angry. Do you know, Rama is the greatest of avatars, but you are giving me less money than Lakshmana? The goldsmith said, I don't know about Rama and Lakshmana, I weigh the gold. The idea being, the form and the name may be Rama, Lakshmana or Hanuman. The content of gold is the same. If you melt them away, you get the gold without the form and the name. The removal of the name and form gives you the essence of what it is. A simple example, daily experience, is when you go to deep sleep. When you're deeply asleep, nobody remembers oneself as a woman or a man or a sannyasi or a householder, a learned person. Even the president, when he sleeps, the sweeper sleep in the street. Both of them are identical as long as sleep is concerned. I, the president. You may say it in the waking state. When you are sleeping, your president is no president, the sweeper is no sweeper. Why? Because the names and forms are gone. The names and forms are gone in sleep, and they can also go when you attain to spiritual illumination. All the rivers empty themselves into the sea. We know this phenomenon. In India, we have so many sacred rivers. The Ganges is one, Yamuna is another, Kaveri is another, and so on. Can you go to the ocean and ask the ocean, can you give me some Kaveri river? Some Ganges river? Ganges water? Ganges water is Ganges as long as you have the identity of the Ganges separately as a name and form, but no more when it enters into the ocean.